my name's Rick Caspoli, owner of RMC Transport.
I'm here to ask you a few questions.
Sounds good.
My first question is, what got you into driving trucks?
Well, it was kind of another one of those stories where it was all on my dad. When I was a kid, 6, 7 years old, he used to work for a town in North Providence where I grew up. And he used to drive a 10-wheel auto car, dump truck, twin shifts, real classic. And he used to come pick me up time after time, snow plowing, whatever it may be. And I think I got the bug back then because 2nd, 3rd grade I started drawing pictures of Peterbilts in art class. And then the old faithful movie came out, Smokey and the Bandit, and that was it for me. I was hooked. There was no looking back from there.
Sounds about right for my life.
Exactly. So, but yeah, I've been driving this year. It'll be 37 years. 33 years as a company driver, and as of 2021, I started looking into buying my own truck and started my own business, which I did. It was real difficult at the beginning because of COVID and all that other crap that we had to go through, fuel prices, but I seem to have stuck it out.
Yeah, and you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, it feels like it. Some days are better than others, you know, just like anything else in this world.
Yeah, I hear that. What kind of challenges have you encountered in your journey of being a truck driver?
I guess you can say wages. Wages has always been one of those challenges because, you know, truck drivers, you know, it seems like we make a lot of money, but we actually spend more time away from home and making less money. And that was one of my biggest challenges, was trying to find the right company to work for that, you know, they would, you get the whole package of benefits, and, you know, the money's got to match and basically be able to survive. But I think that was one of my biggest challenges, you know, until I started my own business and things started getting a little bit better, where, you know, there's a lot more overhead, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a lot of repairs, you know, maintenance. It's just, you know, if you stay on top of your equipment, you should be able to, you know, just run every day, you know, make that penny when you can make it.
And even with it being a new truck, there's still all those, it doesn't change, it's just,
right.
Sometimes it's even more expensive.
Yeah, you know, last year, you know, it was crazy. I had a lot of emissions issues. You know, roughly all my repairs last year on this truck were well over 30 grand. And that was real tough. That was a tough year.
And what year is this truck?
22.
Yep.
So it was, yeah, last year was definitely a difficult year, but I pulled through it, you know.
You got to make sure you do it.
Yeah, you know, quitting's not an option when you're an owner-operator.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, some guys just, you know, it gets the better of them and they fold up, but I'm trying not to fall into that category.
Sometimes you got to take the good with the bad, and you got to take the bad with the good, and
right, and you got to prepare for the bad. That's
yeah,
what you got to do. And sometimes it's really difficult, especially, you know, just me.
Yeah.
So I don't have a family. You know, all my kids are grown, and but guys out there that are trying to make a living doing this, and they got families and a lot of mouths to feed. And, so yeah, you got to hustle. You know, and sometimes it just gets overwhelming.
It definitely does. Even being a local driver, it gets overwhelming too.
I'm sure. But we get up every morning, and you know, that's what our passion is. You know, so we just keep plugging along.
Yeah. Now, what kind of different jobs have you done in the trucking industry in your career? What kind of freight have you hauled? Anything out of the norm, or have you mostly done, I know you do drive-in right now?
Yeah, I do drive-in. I work for, at least out to a company out of Maine. We haul Poland Springs water. Mostly is our bread and butter. And, whatever backhauls we can get back up to Maine. But over the years, my very first job right out of driving school in 1988 was hauling fuel. I worked for a company out of Putnam, Connecticut, hauling gas to local gas stations.
Oh, okay.
And then I went to work for Frito-Lay for a little while. A little bit of everything, and then I got into the construction demolition side of businesses, where I was hauling walk-in floors, hauling demo, then a lot of end dump, frameless dump trailers.
Yo.
I've done it all at least once or twice. Low bed for a company out of Johnston, Rhode Island, years ago, back in the 90s, moving heavy equipment, which was fun because it also gave me the option to learn how to operate equipment.
Yeah.
So that was a really good experience. Pain in the ass, absolutely, but it was a good experience.
It gives you more opportunity to expand yourself in the trucking industry.
Correct. And that's one thing I was never afraid of, is something different. Trying to, broaden my horizons for whatever fell into my lap. I'd be ready for it, it was to a point where just moving the equipment alone got me a job running equipment.
Yeah.
Type idea. So the doors were always constantly opening. And then later on, I got another job in Norwich working for a guy, driving 389s. I just fell in love with these trucks. It's the cat's ass.
They're big in, what's the word I want to use? They're big and scary if you aren't used to them, but once you start driving them, they're actually pretty easy. It's like driving a Honda Civic.
Exactly. You start, maneuvering the truck it's like a compact car at times. Some of the places we go, and me and a friend of mine, we're the only ones with 2 389s, and in the company, everybody else has the aerodynamic Tupperware torpedoes, as they call them.
Yeah,
and
like I drive.
They're able to get into almost any spots. Some of the deliveries, like I said, is very difficult to get into, but again, once you figure out what you're doing, how you're driving this truck, it just comes really natural. I can put this truck almost anywhere. So
it's just like the 579s.
Yeah.
The T680s.
Yeah.
Once you learn where the truck maneuvers, you get it to go in.
Yep.
It's no different than that.
It's just, basic physics.
Yeah.
Angles, all of that happy shit stuff. So, but I love it. This is, my first truck was 2015 579 Tupperware torpedo, and I love that truck. That truck was nice. It was just, it was getting up on the mileage. It was just time to, trade it in while I could get a few bucks for it. And that's how I ended up with this 22 389.
And they ride pretty smooth too, for what they are.
Oh yeah, it's a 285-inch wheelbase, and it rides very smooth.
Yeah.
All things considered, being a big truck like this.
And it's very quiet.
I agree.
Doesn't even sound like you're in a truck right now.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
I've driven those, straight pipe trucks, loud Jake brakes, and it's all good, fun and games for the show, but after time, it gives you a headache.
Yeah, that's true. The droning.
Yeah.
Now, what would you say is your favorite thing that you've hauled?
Favorite thing? I'd have to say that the oversized heavy equipment was fun, because that was just a constant challenge.
Yeah.
And that's just something that I get used to, always trying to better myself, and to be, if you label it as fun to haul, I think that oversized equipment was pretty decent and fun to haul.
Yeah.
So
I've always wanted to give it a shot just to say that I've done it.
yeah, and I'm telling you, once you do it, you're gonna see exactly what I just said. You're gonna be like, oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
This is massive. I hauled a 125,000 pound rock crusher back from New Jersey.
Wow.
It was a trailer. It wasn't a low bed. It was like a full-on trailer of a rock crusher. And that was just amazing. The thing was over with. Plymouth over height. It was just nuts. Nuts.
That's like the that big wood chipper we have at work, the big red one.
Yeah.
That thing is heavy.
Yeah. But this thing was triple axle. It was huge. It was just monstrous. So, but yeah, that was one of the interesting ones too.
Now, have you done local and over the road?
Yes. I started out over the road back in '88 because nobody wants to hire you with no experience except the road companies. Back then, anyway. I don't know about now. But, yeah, so I went on the road for a company out of Rhode Island, driving a cab over international.
Wow.
7-speed. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Did it have AC at least?
Yeah, I had AC. I give it that. But that was about it. Climbing in and out of that bunk is definitely not made for fat guys.
What, was it a flat top, or did you just have the big one?
No, it was a flat top.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was a flat top.
Now, do you prefer local or do you prefer over the road?
Right now, this stage of the game, I'm usually pretty much home every night, but as of lately, to answer the question, I'm home every night. Local is better for me, but the way I'm running right now is I'll leave on Sunday and I'll be going for a couple days, just make it easier because I transport stuff back to Maine and back down every day. So it makes my fuel mileage less if I just go back directly instead of coming home 2 hours out of the way. You know?
Yeah.
But definitely, more local than anything. I'm not too far,
Yeah.
So,
Now, what are your plans for the future? Do you have any plans of expanding, or do you just want to keep it a one-man show?
just a one-man show. One truck, one headache. More trucks, more headaches.
Do you want to buy another truck eventually in the future, or do you want to make this your last truck?
This is my last truck. Once this truck's paid off, I'm going to slow down. And
Take a few days off during the week?
yeah, more, instead of 6 days a week, I'm going to be looking at maybe 4. And then, the ultimate goal is to buy a 5th-wheel trailer and camper trailer and then head south.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of the plan.
Anywhere in particular, or?
South Carolina.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, already been looking. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the game plan.
When are you expecting to have the truck paid off?
3 years.
Oh,
3
okay.
more years, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be
As
good.
long as I can hold out body-wise, I should be okay. Everything's a challenge now, especially physically.
Yeah, in life, that's how it is.
Yep.
Now, what is your favorite place to see? When you were in your career and expanding in your career, what were some of your favorite places to go to or favorite places to see?
I always like traveling up north, like New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine. It's just a whole different breed of country up there. It's just beautiful and not as many ignorant four-wheelers, I guess, up there.
Yep.
They're a little more, everything's spaced out. The people are just a lot nicer in general up north, it seems like. But yeah, up north in the mountains and stuff like that is one of my favorite places to go. You can just get lost in thought while you're driving through those.
It's like driving in Canada, right?
Yeah, pretty much, which I've done a few times. I'm all set with that.
Have you done it in a tractor trailer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, all set with that.
Now, have you gone out west as far as California on a tractor trailer?
No, the farthest I did is basically the whole East Coast.
Okay.
How far as where I go? Mississippi, I think, was the furthest,
Okay.
and then basically Florida. I've been to Texas only once, but I've never driven physically out to California.
Okay.
So
How many miles do you think you've done in your career?
I'd say probably well over 3 million, probably.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You figure I average roughly a little over 100,000 miles a year.
Yep.
And if you figure, if you calculate it, not all the companies I work for average that, but I figure in a ballpark maybe 2.5 to 3 million, somewhere in that area.
Yeah, because where we met, the company that we both worked for.
Yeah.
You averaged about 50 to 60,000 there, and I don't know how long you worked there before.
Yeah, I
came
very
along,
long,
but
I didn't like the owner.
yeah.
Previous owner. Just make that clear.
You average, so and with other companies such as that you may have worked for, it makes sense that it would be a little less, but
Right.
that's very impressive that you've done close to 3 million, if not more, in your career.
Yep.
A lot of miles gone down the road.
Absolutely. Takes a lot out of you physically too.
Yeah, it
Day
does.
after day, trying to get up and get in this truck. Some days it's just, physically impossible, but you just don't do it,
Now, with you being in the trucking industry nearly 40 years, is there anything that you ever look back at, not necessarily changing careers, but is there anything in the trucking industry that you wish you did differently, or did at different times and did sooner, or anything?
Not really. I mean, as far as the trucking industry's going, it's been multiple changes on every level. And I mean, as far as direction for me, I think this was always my path.
Yeah.
So I just to look back and see if I could have changed anything, what would I have done? Or I mean, again, if I think back as far as when I was a kid, one of my biggest things, because I lived next door to a firefighter, I was definitely smitten with the fire trucks back then.
Yeah.
If I would have stayed living where we were, I probably would have been a firefighter.
Okay.
That's kind of the avenue my life probably would have went. Still driving trucks though.
Yeah. Just did it on the side.
On the side. Well, in fire company, you drive fire trucks, but nothing fancy.
Yeah. Well, some of those fire trucks are pretty fancy.
Yeah, I've seen them.
They cost a lot of money.
And I'm still bound and determined to drive one of these days.
Yeah. Because I think you're technically qualified to drive one, right? Or or do you have to go?
Well, I think you might have to be certified.
Yeah.
Possibly. But I don't think that would be an issue.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, some of these kids that are driving these trucks are, they're very good at what they do. So, now if I could have changed one thing in this industry,
that would have been that was going to be my next question.
And because you got me thinking, when you asked me that, was, the day that they changed the paper logs to the ELDs, that just, I think that killed this whole situation.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yep. I mean, they're okay. They do what they do. They keep us regulated, but still, I still wish the paper logs were in full effect.
There should be a certain way that you could go about still doing it, not including the motor that you have.
Right.
There should be like requirements, like if you've been in the industry for X amount of time, or it shouldn't be just towards the motor that you have.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy the way they figure all this crap out, but again, it's still anti-productive in some states. Where you're trying to get things accomplished, and then you got that thing barking at you saying, you got to stop.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Luckily, where I work, we fall under the municipality thing. So
150 air miles.
Yeah, and there's some other thing that has to do with like trash and municipal stuff. And we don't have to do it because we are under the 60-hour rule, I believe is what it's called.
Yeah. Okay.
So, luckily, I have not had to touch a logbook in 4 years. But when I ran over the road, I was using e-logs and paper logs, and there's definitely you don't really know the difference. People tell you about it and they tell you all the stories and everything, but you don't really know what the difference is until you've done both of them. And I can definitely agree that using paper is a lot more efficient.
Yeah, totally agree.
Especially if you know how to get around the paper.
Yeah, correct. That's the biggest reason why they took it away from us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love what I do. I think I'd be lost if I didn't have it. Because there's never a dull moment. You get home from a few days on the road, and no matter how you look at it, there's always something that needs to be done to the truck. It's being washed or, greased or something. It's always something that's keeping you on your toes. So I think I'd be lost without that side project.
Yeah. Me too. Even as a company driver, I feel the same way. I always feel like I gotta do something to my truck. And luckily enough, I'm able to do stuff to my truck. Now, obviously, I'm sure you like driving for yourself, but when you were working as a company driver, what was your favorite company that you worked for?
Prime Materials Recovery. PMR. They were out of Willimantic, Connecticut. But now they moved to Windsor now. Just the guys that own that company, still to this day, I'm in contact with them. Every holiday, I get a text message saying whatever the holiday is. I just got one, Happy Father's Day from the owner, And that was probably far by yet the best company I ever worked for. So I ended up getting an opportunity to go work for a union company, and he couldn't match the wages, so I was like, time to move on.
And that was Finargo?
Yeah, Vinagro. Yep, Vinagro out of Johnston, Rhode Island. And then, unfortunately, I had to move to Maine for unforeseen circumstances with the ex-wife, which wasn't ex then, is now. But yeah, that was one of the other companies that I regret having to leave. Was Vinagro.
Now, do you think you'd ever go back to a company, or are you dead set on staying as a owner-operator?
I don't know. That's a tough question, just because of the way, times are going. I'm getting older, and I got to pay for my own medical. I got a lot of overhead, and if things seem to slow down, the overhead basically takes over, and I, have no choice. I mean, I honestly 100% think I would look back into another company.
Now, here's a real question, because I have a buddy who does this. He owns 2 trucks, but he works for a company and he has people driving his trucks.
Yeah.
Would that be something you would do, or is that?
I'd be looking more like a structured company. Not another owner-operator trying to fill a seat kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just because that falls along the lines of, what if, when they don't have work, what if this, what if that? I'd rather try to get with a structured company where they have work 5 or 6 days a week steady.
Still got to pay the bills.
Still got to pay the bills, right? I mean, I don't want to have to worry about, not getting paid, not making any money.
Yeah.
It's just, this day and time is really tough. Everything's so expensive.
Definitely is.
Can't really afford to take any time without getting paid, unfortunately.
Now, is there anything that you have to say for the new generation of truckers that are coming up? Is there any advice you can give the new generation of drivers, or anything that you wish somebody had told you when you were fresh that could help them out in the future?
Just take your time, learn your profession. Just don't rush it. You're going to get out on the road eventually. If you're in a school, learn as much as you possibly can. Sit there and do the maneuvers, learn the rules, get on the road time. Definitely pay attention to the road time.
Yep.
You know, a lot of places where they'll end up is like distribution centers or warehouses or of some sort. And there's always a lot of trucks very tight backing in. And that's probably one of the biggest things I would say. Pay attention to how you could learn more about backing a trailer up in tight spots and get really good at that.
Yeah.
That's what I think would be the best advice. Because anybody can drive a truck forward.
Not everybody can drive a truck
backwards, right?
Yeah.
So I think that would be the biggest piece of advice is learn your backing skills and just really focus on that. I deal with that on a daily basis. I sit in some places for a half hour trying to watch this guy back his trailer in. It just doesn't frustrate me. It frustrates everybody else behind me.
Yeah.
You know. So it's just focus on that.
Listen to everybody when they're telling you something.
Right. Take their advice to heart. Just don't brush it off and say, yeah, I got this. You know, really focus on what you're doing.
I will say, I've been in the industry for 11 years myself, driving.
Yeah.
Not including all the time that I spent with my father in my childhood. And even being 11 years into the industry, I still learn things every day about backing up and still learn things going forward even. And
I'm still learning things all these years later too. Yeah, the situations are always different. They're not always the same, so
you're never gonna stop learning. Oh, that don't look good.
local crackhead. Oh boy. And there you go, folks. There's reality.
No shit.
Yeah.
Now, to end this interview, is there anything else that you would like to say to the people?
I guess thanks for putting up with me all these years.
Yeah.
Because I'm that guy in the highway. Gotta go.
Always gotta go, right?
Gotta go. Truck's gotta move. And please put your cell phones down. Because that is the biggest distraction all the way around. Keep everybody safe.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate you letting me do this interview.
You're welcome. Thank you for taking the time to do it.
Absolutely. And we'll see you guys in the next one.